Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to introduce our special guest, KennyFresh. He's a multi-talented individual, and in addition to being known as a spoken word artist, he's also a poet and an author, a performer for over 10 years now. His prose is a combination of humor and satire along with faith. His performance will be 50 minutes with 10 minutes for Q&A. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to him, and we're very pleased that he is here.
Hey, thank y'all so much. I'm really excited about this. I've been knowing Ms. Harriet Goldberg for a while and done a few events at the Jeffersonville Township Library a few times. So I'm excited that we could finally get together and collaborate on something. So I want this to be interactive. So if you're feeling stuff, just throw stuff in the chat. I'll be checking comments and stuff in between pieces. And so get right into it. I've got assortment of poems, some from my debut chapbook, Equilibrium, and then some from just other writings that I've done over the years. So just a brief intro, kind of like Ms. Harriet Goldberg said, I've been doing this for about 10 years. Shout out to everybody who's here. Let me know if you guys have ever been to a poetry reading before, whether virtual or in person. I've been doing mostly virtual since the pandemic started. So this is nothing new to me. I've done stuff for Illinois virtually, done stuff for Kentucky, and it's just really a lot of fun. And so one of the fun things about poetry readings is connecting with the poet through their art. And I guess I had a question, and I'd love you guys to throw something in the chat. Like, who are some of your favorite poets? I would love to see who your favorites are. And if you don't have a favorite, feel free to place me as a favorite. And hopefully by the time I'm done with all of this, I'll be one of your favorites. One of the fun things I love about art is that art makes you feel like you're at home. And so hopefully with these poems, you will feel like you're at home, feel like you know me a little bit better. So this first poem I'm going to get into is, shout out to Cherie. She said Langston Hughes is her favorite poet. Respect. I definitely feel that for sure. The first piece I'm going to do is called Art Makes Home. I see Robert Frost. I see Robin G. Shout out to Stephanie for Robin G. Hannah Drake. There's a lot of talented poets in the area. So hopefully I'm happy to be one of those in the midst. So here's this first person piece. It's called Art Makes Home. Your name is your name. Gifted by your parents, it's your announcement to the world. I am here in all your splendor and glory. The name you wear tells a part of your story. Chords strike in harmony as your native tongue paints pictures upon a canvas that most won't understand. The music you make comforts others and upsets a few, but what can they expect when heritage is your muse? You are your ancestors' dreams given wings. You flew to another hemisphere, transplanted to another country with your roots still intact. Motherland gave you nourishment for the journey. Inside you lies the ability to thrive in strange soil. As you travel this road freshly paved, never forget from whence the foundation was laid. Home is where your heartbeat settles into its regular rhythm. You knew your streets and they knew you. But here in this new place, this new home, this unfamiliar space, your heartbeat pounds at an irregular pace. Over time, it will slow and be steady. Life isn't easy. You don't expect it to be. There is still room in this country for the refugee. There is a bed for the rest you seek. Home is the place that lets you sleep. A space for comfort and healing. These four walls give you something to believe in, so believe them. You are home. Art Makes Home. And in between pieces, I'll give some background on the poetry and things like that. So Art Makes Home, last year, 2020 was, it marked the 30 years. That poem was written for an organization called KRM, Kentucky Refugee Ministries. Last year marked 30 years of them helping people from around the world come to Kentucky and restart their lives. And so they had a celebration called Art Makes Home, and several artists submitted works, and I was one of those, and I wrote that piece just for that event. And it's been a favorite, and I really enjoy it. So that's Art Makes Home. Like I said, speaking of homes, I have a home for my poems. This is my very first collection of poetry called Equilibrium. It's a chapbook. People like Miss Harriet Goldberg, she's been asking me for at least 2 or 3 years if I had a book, and I finally have one. I released it April 3rd, 2020, in the middle, like the beginning of the pandemic. I've had people asking for a book for years. One of my biggest and best supporters, shout out to Miss LaVon Shatton out in Frankfort, Kentucky. She'd been asking for almost 7 years. And so I finally found a home for my poems. And so we're going to get into a couple of those from the book, and I'm excited. I have a few of them memorized, but this one, if you purchase the book, you will find the very first poem is called Challenger Point. So I will read that and get into a little of the inspiration now. Just keep it moving. Challenger Point. Darkness has never been a friend to those in need of the light of hope. The sun lies hidden behind a shroud. It's unnatural not to see the sun for too long. Night always turns to day given enough time. So many leave this life an hour before dawn, causing our hearts to break before the day does. Those who have been at their lowest know you can't just turn off the depression. The cord to anxiety is tied to too many triggers. To be undone at the snap of a finger, the days are long, on the road to recovery even longer. How terrible to tell those that have the courage to face this day to just be stronger. When the monsters under your bed become the ones dancing in your head, when the one you want to escape from is yourself. Feeling alone, teetering out of reach on the highest shelf, it's hard to be scared of death when every day is a living hell. There is a light of the world, please let him in. I pray you believe in he who rose from death again. He'll fill the void within, and I promise you will experience equilibrium. That is Equilibrium. Thank y'all. And also, like, just so this is interactive, y'all can leave comments and stuff in the chat if you like a line or something like that. You can leave fire emoji, snaps, all that. And in person, there will be a lot of snapping and all of that. And so I know that's the one part of virtual performances is you don't get the energy of the crowd. But I believe that I see Queen Savannah Sunshine got the clap emoji in her profile. I appreciate that. Oh man, there's so many people joining. Gotta shout some people out real quick. Like I said, my mom was like the first one in here. Shout out to her. I see Jasmine. I see Queen Savannah Sunshine. Marilyn, who is my mother-in-law. Shout out to Grand. I see TJ. TJ is like one of the most consistent supporters. She likes everything on Instagram. She is dope. I see my cousin Renee Burns. This mug is a family affair. So I'm super excited that you all are here. Thank you for taking the time out. What we just read, where is my book sold? That is a good question. Before we get into anything else, I'm going to share my screen and Google Chrome. Let's see if I can. So if you go to my website right here, it's refresherpoint.com. You go there, you go to chat book, and there's a link. And you can buy it on Amazon and anything like that, but there's just different links that you can click on. Almost any online retailer will have it. So that's kind of one of the places. Everybody who's bought it seems to have bought it from Amazon, but you can buy it online at Books A Billion and things like that. That is where you can find the book. Trying to get back to not sharing the screen. Stop sharing. There you go. So that's where you can find it. You can find it on my website and or just type in Kenneth L. Woods Equilibrium and the book should show up. I'm in the process of getting it in e-format. Right now, the only place that I've seen it is at Barnes & Noble on their Nook. So digitally, that's where you can find it at. So that's That's that. For those who are just joining, I just finished reading Challenger Point, which is the very first book, first poem in my book, Equilibrium. And just to get into some background information about Challenger Point. So the deepest trench in the world is the Mariana Trench. And if you get to the very bottom of that, under the sea, you get to the very, very, very bottom of that, there is a point called Challenger Deep. And so since this book is Equilibrium, just talking about balance, I wanted the book to start in a low place, so Challenger Point. And then if you buy the book and you get to the very end, you'll see that that's called Everest. It's spelled like Everest, but the R is capital, so it's like Everest, a little wordplay there. So we go from low to high, and we're trying to navigate in between. So that is the first poem from the book. Next, we're going to get into another poem. This is called How Are You Really? Anybody who's been following me for any length of time has probably heard this one. So, but I love performing it. This is also in Equilibrium. So here we go. How are you? No. How are you really? Most of the time we respond with fine, but that's because we understand that those asking the question really don't care and definitely don't have the time. This fast-paced society doesn't give us time to truly speak, so we check in with loved ones that we hardly ever speak. Social media got us checking in at concerts and restaurants, but hardly ever clinics and counselors, offices. The internet has made the world so much smaller, but we still haven't grown closer. We've just mastered the art of keeping it together, and we dare not lose composure. But what happens when pretense fails, depression hits, and your wrists look like do not open before Christmas, and it's finished till midnight on December 25th, or you're looking at pills and liquor, hoping they can bring the healing quicker. We worried about the pollution of the sea, but what about the polluted bloodstreams of loved ones we see hurting anonymously? I see the pain in your eyes, the quick hesitation, as if weighing the absence of your mind, your brain abacus, calculating if those inquiring on your health are truly worthy of your trust. You are scared that if folks find out how broken you are, they may need the therapy refuse to take. It's time out for cookie cutter answers and generic solutions. Don't you dare say, I'm fine. Things will get better with time. And don't you dare say, hi, don't stress, but I'm blessed. Nah, you was blessed before I ever asked you the question. So again, I ask, how are you really? So before that question can be posed, be prepared. If the person on the receiving end of it takes you to task, letting you know about all the abuse they've had or thoughts of ending it all because there's no hope left, be prepared to offer them real suggestions. If you don't know how to help them, there's no harm in guessing or getting a second opinion. Help them find what heals them. Let them know there's power in prayer and therapy. The two are not mutually exclusive. You see, Jesus had a doctor, technically a physician, and his crew. So I'm guessing that God and science are cool. Let them know there is power in exercise, meditation, even adult coloring books. This is a crazy world we've inherited. We're living real life looks ugly, but that's because it's all in one take. There is no time for filters, crop outs, or edit. These are dark days, and we are praying that we can find the exit. This is for those at the end of their rope or who have had thoughts about being at the end of one. I believe that every breath we continue to take is a blessing. In a world that rides on grinding 24/7, there is no harm in resting, no harm in being more concerned with the inner sanctum of your temple rather than the outward exterior of the building. I understand that this life has more questions than answers, like why was your innocence stolen and why does your family feel cursed by cancer? I have no prophetic answers, but what I do have is a listening ear and an empathetic heart. I could pray for you to the Lord in Jesus' name if you into that sort of thing, but I have no spiritual salve, no mental medication. I will probably fail all of your expectations. I just want you to know that I care, and I want you to answer me truthfully whenever I ask, how are you? Really? Thank you. That is that piece. That is how are you really? Some background about that one is that I wrote that in 2015, and it just kind of slept in the notebook for like 2 years until 2017 when the homie Rick Barnett, shout out to him, he had a mental health celebration event in Indianapolis. And this would be a perfect place to debut this poem. And when I did it, it was just, it got a lot of rave reviews and people really liked it. Somebody messaged me saying they wanted to hear that poem on repeat. And I wrote it because, in 2015 and even now, mental health was really starting to be, and it's always been an issue, but you just started hearing about it more and more. and I just kind of wrote my thoughts about it, and how one of the things that we always say, how are you? I'm fine, okay. But it's like, nah, man, how are you really? And so that poem is in equilibrium. That is just to kind of get you to really sit with that question. And I would also say, like, don't ask that question if you're not fully prepared for an answer. And if it's a, high and by thing, like, I hope you're doing okay, or call me or something like that. But that poem is really to engage with people and get them. So yeah, so that's that piece. Man, so if you're rolling with me, some of you rolling with me for a while now. I've been performing in the Louisville metro area for 10 years. One of the most fun things about doing poetry is it's where all the different sides of my personality and who I am connected, they kind of come out on paper. And so one of the things that I write about is fatherhood, right? So those who know me know that my pops was in the Navy. Shout out to him. He is, I think, riding on his way home from work. So he'll have to catch the recording. But I was born in Hawaii. Shout out to my mom and my dad. And just watching him work kind of taught me about work ethic. And just, then all of a sudden, years later, now I'm a father. So it's like that student becomes a master. Now I'm a father. And so this next piece, people have heard it a lot. It's one of my favorite pieces. It is not in the book because it's very special to me. It's DNA. And so we'll just get into it. Deoxy, ribonucleic acid, commonly referred to as DNA. Hereditary material passed down from parent to child, strands of genetic coding wired through nearly every cell of the body. While for most of the world, that's what DNA stands for. Those three letters, D and A, have a whole different meaning because daddy needs to answer. Got so many questions like, who are you? Why did you leave and what kept you away from me? I know that opposites attract, causing you and mama to react, but I also know that like poles repel. Am I so similar to you that the only option you had was to head in the opposite direction? I'm learning in school that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. So, Daddy, you collided with mommy, and I was born, causing you to react the way you did. Is that what happened? Daddy needs to answer. I've got so many inquiries, but you don't necessarily address them. You didn't need to appear. Your absence, the silence in my life is akin to the deafening roar of the ocean in my ears. And speaking of oceans, you couldn't begin to count the number or measure the depth of the sea of tears that I have cried. You see, Daddy needs to answer. I wonder why mommy won't let me see you. She treats it like a game, and I don't know if it's checkers or chess, or if you're even playing. I'm new to chess, but I want to know why mommy uses me as a pawn against you. The king and queen are on the same team. I feel like I'm being held hostage and can only lay eyes on you in my dreams. You see, Daddy needs to answer. The question of children all across the globe, cries that come deep from the soul. Every child needs their dad. And no matter how well the intentional mother can feel both lanes, children deserve to know both contributors to the blood in their veins. You see, parents are the amino acids used to build up the DNA in their seeds. Without both parents, that double helix begins to unravel. Their sense of significance and being, wrapped up in knowing who they are and whose they are. There is the absence of a man in a child's life as the fathers are on striking. I don't know if they didn't think it through. Thought a family was too much to hold on to. Walking off the job before the benefits could kick in. If these eyes are truly the windows to the soul, then how many children are hiring? Help wanted signs tattooed on the hearts of many. They are so desperate for love, they'll take anyone. Hire the first man on the fly. If these eyes could truly speak, they would probably say, Father wanted. Dad need apply. Thank you. So that is that piece. That is DNA. I wrote that in 2015, December of 2015. It was like literally 2 months after I got married. I got a daughter. We don't say Steph. She is my daughter. And I just noticed that when I would go to see her at school or all the children that were around us, some of them would look sad when they would see me with my daughter. And I was just sitting one day and I'm like, man, one day these fathers that aren't around, they're going to have to answer. And for those who know me, I have a science background. So one day I was just sitting there like, man, these daddies need to answer. Oh, DNA. That's, oh. And so, that just kind of, that poem spawned out of that. And the reason it's not in the book is it's one of my most impactful pieces. I did it back in 2019, right? Right before everything shut down. at a slam, and this dude who was in his 30s, I think he just turned 30, he had just met his father for the very first time. And he said that poem touched him. Usually I have men that walk up to me and tell them that poem touched them. And so for the very first time I've made it available, I have an EP on Bandcamp. If you go to my website, professionalpoint.com, that's the very first thing you'll see a picture of me, you'll see the EP, you'll get a thing where you can subscribe, all of that. But that's where you can find DNA. I've never made it available to the public because it's just super special to me. But yeah, that's where you can cop that and listen to it. And it's definitely it's, like, if you didn't know me, you would think I'm talking about my dad, but that's not my story at all. But this next poem kind of talks about the inverse side of that. So yeah. So this next one is new. I've only done it for one audience at a reading I did with the St. Louis Poetry Center. I realized, like, years after that, I've done a couple of fatherhood poems for churches and stuff, but I've never actually written about my dad. And so I wanted to talk about my dad and the fact that I love him and put that in a poem, and also, like, share that with the world, because everybody kind of laughs about Father's Day because it's obviously not as celebrated as Mother's Day, but good fathers do exist, and I think they should be kind of put on the platform, and people should say it, especially before they're gone. So we're going to get into this next poem. It is called I Need to Call My Dad More Often. So, and it's exactly what it sounds like. So let's get into it. I'll be reading this one. All right. And also, everybody, I think everybody's muted, but if not, just make sure that you're muted. Man, I love my father. He is in his mid-50s, bred of Texas stock. He was raised by his son and refrigerated in his winter's lessons, cooked into his skin I have yet to learn. He is Texan to the bone, but I thank God I have never seen him in cowboy boots or hats filled with at least 10 gallons of Southern pride. Growing up, he told me, "You a good little bohawk. I like the way you strut." I have no idea what that means. To this day, it must be a Texas thing. My dad was always around until he wasn't, until Uncle Sam's siren song sent him out to sea. And like an eviction notice from a landlord, it was something he could ill afford to ignore. It's strange how the military compensates one for staying away from family for months on end, perhaps. This is the calling the deadbeat dad is, but not my father. Whether 3 or 6 months, he always returned, and I relinquished my role as man of the house and stepped back into the part of understudy. My dad loved me too much to let my potential go untouched like a toddler's vegetables. Love is sacrifice, and Pops gave up 50% of himself so I could live. The sweat from his brow fell so I could begin to sprout. I am a U-wood arrow in the hands of one who wants to shoot me farther than he's ever traveled. He's aimed me away from laziness, poverty, and statistics. His lessons are unending. He instructs me in the logistics of avoiding police officers' ballistics. A Black father's job is never done. His seeds scatter out into the cruel world he tried to shield them from. I wonder if my father prays that my siblings and I will lay him to rest before he has to bury us. Now, I'm a dad, and I wonder how my pops did it. The ins and outs of Black fatherhood and what he would do different. I call him old man now. He has more years behind than in front. While he still draws breath, I must mine lessons from the caverns of his cranium. He's my dad, the onlyest one I'll ever have. I should call him more. I think he'd like that. So thank you. That is that piece. That is, I need to call my dad more often. And that kind of came, let me get a little sort of water here. That kind of came as a result of 2020. You couldn't be around family. A lot of us lost people. And I just remember there was an album I was listening to, and the skits was the artist was calling different family members, called his mom, his dad, grandma, manager, and a friend, right? And I'm like, man, I need to call people more often. And so just one of my personal convictions is I try to call my dad at least once a week. And we've been doing that, I've been checking up on him. And I really do call him old man now. It's like, I kind of feel like now that he's over 50, I call him old now. But that is Just a poem about my dad. And if you could take anything away from that, just call your people. Call them more often. Kind of bend that bridge, because there's too many people that had to say their final goodbyes over Skype or not be able to touch their loved ones, right? So that is, I need to call my dad more often. I love it. It's just, you guys are like the second audience that's heard it. Hopefully when my dad watches the recording, I mean, he's never heard it, so it's kind of a surprise. So I like to do a lot of my writing to like music, like instrumental music, chill hop. And I've got a playlist that I will probably share in the comments that I like to do my writing to, that I made up on one of my accounts. And it's just really fun. I don't know what you guys like to write to, but it's just writing to music is very therapeutic, and I just really enjoy it. And sometimes silence is best, but a lot of times I just like music. And so I'm going to go my Spotify playlist. It's called Equilibrium Playlist, right? Slight plug. But when this came out last year, I think I had like 20 of my favorite lo-fi instrumental, it was kind of just like hip hop beats without any like lyrics that I like to write to. Because I don't write with music with words, because I don't want like their words to kind of meander into my head. Because I realized very early on in my writing process, my wife, she's like, yo, I've heard somebody say that. I'm like, oh, so this is like the perfect thing. It's hip hop, it's ambiance, it's all this stuff, but lets me just kind of sit and just kind of zone out. And Queen Savannah Sunshine said that's the only way I can write. Facts, big facts. Also, let me, feel free to throw comments. Let me know what you guys are thinking of the poems and stuff so far. We are just about halfway through the set. And so now, anybody who knows me knows I believe that the power of words is very real. I want us to be careful with the words that we say. So I've got the next two poems really deal with that concept of the power of words. This next one is called Breathe, and it is also in the book. And this one's got a really cool backstory, and we'll get into it after I read. It's cold enough to see your breath move. What are you seeing? That exhaling turns to a cloud that twists and turns, only to disappear as suddenly as you saw it. Life is a vapor, and just as you continue to keep breathing, people keep leaving. What are you inhaling? As you breathe in, you absorb your environment without even trying it. Is there gossip in your nostrils? What toxic situations are you pulling from the atmosphere of your surroundings and bringing deep into your innermost beings? What we breathe in can be exhaled as something different or maybe distantly related. Breathe in enough fear and you'll exhale doubt. It'll perforate every word you speak, every syllable that you leak. 7 days of this will definitely make 1 week. When life gets to be too much, we get told to focus on our breathing, what is coming into our bodies and what is leaving. Are we breathing in peace, causing the negative to be released? Discharging the toxic before it can contaminate our temples. Who would have thought that it could be so simple? Monitor your intake. Stay away from the chain smoke of naysayers who've been sucking cigarettes so long they forgot what clean air tastes like. They make their own cloud of reality. If you sit too close, it can choke your dreams out. As you drink deeply of what your surroundings pour into you, your lungs expand. But I ask, what are you being filled with? Is it hope, love, a concern for others, or is it the news, topics that trend and other frivolous things that threaten to smother? So many of us are choking. There is something blocking our pathways, restricting our movement of air. Many are choked up with regrets, whether of words unsaid, or acts we wish we never did. Life has a way of choking the life out of us as we strive to pay off bills and eliminate our debt, although many have resigned themselves to this sort of life until their death. But that's what hope is for. It's the Heimlich for what's been hindering you. You can't always see it, but hope is surrounding you. Every new day that you breathe in is another reason you need to believe that you can win. You were designed for more than just sucking in wind. You were made to be a breath of fresh air for not just yourself, but to breathe life into someone else's lungs. I know there's life and death in the tongue, but I also believe that there's life in your lungs. I know the coldest times is when you can see it, but faith is continuing to breathe even when you can't see the benefit of continuing to breathe again. Watch what you do, where you step, But in today's time, I want you to watch your breath. That is breathe. That is, I wrote that, I think it was like maybe 2018, 2019. And this is a weird one. I woke up at like 6 in the morning and just wrote. Like I had this poem in my mind and I wrote it in like less than 30 minutes. That is not how my poetry's, that's not how my poetry works at all. Sometimes it takes days, months. You know, I think I've got some poems that I've gone back and finished a couple years later. That is not how, and that's kind of a common question is, where do you get your ideas from? Everywhere. This one was just like a dream. Woke up at 6, bro. That is very much the anomaly. Hopefully you guys are still rocking with me. Thank you so much. The next poem, I like to equate my poems to like music albums. So like a lot of the stuff that people haven't heard, that's like the album cuts. Like you got to listen to the album to hear it, or it's like a notebook cut for me. But this next one, it's kind of almost like one of my singles. If you've been following me any amount of time, you've heard it over and over again. I love it. It's like a soul piece. I can do it without, almost just like at the drop of a dime. And so it's called Meticulous. And we're gonna get into it. All right. Meticulous. Never underestimate the power of your words. You see, we live in the age of word count. Every syllable is tallied and held in record, so you best make your words count because life and death are in the power of the tongue. And I see some of you are still doubtful. Just think about all the lives lost as a result of cyberbullying. With a click of a mouse and some typed letters, souls are crushed and hope is fettered. There's too much going on in this world, so I can't keep wasting words. So many of us believe we're made in the image of God, but we fail to realize just as his words give life, ours have the same effect. And no, we may not be able to bring planets into existence but our words shape the world around us. For you see your words, create your world. What you breathe into existence will be the framework for the portrait that your life will be painted in. This is why complaints are nothing more than ink blots on a freshly printed page. They take the focus off the words and in some cases hide a part of the story. This is why every word that I spit is handpicked. It was carefully considered and cautiously critiqued because while I'm whispering sweet nothings in y'all's ear, there was someone outside literally dying to hear words like, hello, what's your name? You matter. Or the most dangerous word in the world, love. So as you can see, I'm as tight with my words as a customer, calculating how much tip to leave. Should I get 15 or 20%? How much to speak if I am able? Because just like them, I can't afford to leave too much laying on the table. There's too much vernacular manslaughter, reckless endangerment with verbs, too many poor souls serving life from the damage of words served. And would that we all thought twice and aim to aspire adjectives of death into a liturgical literacy of life. Because I've seen firsthand the strife that comes from one-time run-on sentences, not structured in tact and decency. And recently, it seems like we forgot how to communicate. But I'm not perfect, so I won't cast a stone. Rather, I will build. Use my tongue to paint beautiful pictures in light of the sun and light of the I'd like to become. But it all starts with me, and in time translates to we. And this is not to preach to you, rather this is to reach you. So let every said syllable sound a sincere structure, not spelling for sombering stagnant sentences of servitude. So in short, words matter. Be meticulous. Thank you. That is Meticulous. Also, a shout out. I am wearing the Refresher Point merch. That is also on the website. I've got t-shirts and stuff like that. Those who want to follow the movement and all those fun things. But yeah, man, that is Meticulous. That is not just in the book, but it's also one of the 5 pieces in my EP. And I kind of glossed over it, but I did drop an EP on Bandcamp. If you go to refresherpoint.com, it is on the landing page. Typically, what I have 5 acapella poem pieces, and some of them just written throughout the years, and I just wanted to get something out to people because I've always wanted to do a spoken word album, but you kind of got to do what the people ask for. But like I said earlier, people wanted a book, and so now that the book is out, I'm like, well, I've got these acapellas I've been sitting on, let me put them out, and it's been getting some support. And I've had people from like Atlanta buy it, Virginia, North Carolina. So I've gotten a lot of of support for it. So, go check that out. I think I've got it set up so we can get at least 3 listens. So just in case you need to be convinced before you purchase, that's fine too. But yeah, so that I'm trying to get something for everybody. So I've got the book for those who love the book. I've got for those who like to hear it. I've got a little EP for you guys. So all sorts of things to just get the poetry out to you all. So next, the next couple of poems I do. This is not in the book, but I really like it. I wrote it this year. It's called Light, Life, Hope, and we're gonna get into it. Let's go. Let there be light. The kind that greets your eyes when you wake, when your eyelids draw back like curtains, and the sun wiping away every shadowy stain until nothing but a new day remains. Breathe in the new opportunities, some dangling like low-hanging fruit whilst waiting to pick from others that have yet to take root. Welcome to the first day of forever. You made it. Where dreams can become tangible, but only if you put the work in, and oh, you've been working. Too much for some and not enough for others, but who asked them? Who tasked them to manage how you live and move? So many are human doings while you fight to be a human being, and humans are not for sale. Yet we are still appraised. We are still subjected to these involuntary appraisals, these archaic assumptions of worth. Where you work, live, what you drive. Questions asked about everything except what you have survived. The redwood will never understand the orange tree. One that has always been rooted and planted can never relate to one whose roots have been uprooted and wrenched, and sometimes branches get damaged. But yet, here you are, still standing, still doing what some never thought you could do. Pay them no mind. Refund them the 2 cents you never asked them for. Each day is a new reward, a payoff for making the most dangerous gamble. Betting on oneself is more than what others can handle. But you change the course of your family's history. You set a new precedent, and never forget you are a gift that your ancestors sent. And you are stronger than you admit. And yeah, days will be cloudy, vision blurred by smoke, but through it all, never lose grip of that lifeline. Keep both hands on that rope. And through it all, never lose. That's that piece. Hopefully you get that the last word was supposed to be hope. That piece was written, I think, March or April of this year. So like I said, last year was KRM's 30th anniversary of being around helping the community. So they had this really cool recording at the South Central Regional Library where they had a bunch of artists come out. It was closed. The public wasn't allowed in, and we just filmed our performances. So I did Art Makes Home for them. And like, this is great. Do you have another piece? I'm like, I can write one. So I think like a week or two before the performance, I wrote that. And it was really cool because I was paired with a Ghanaian percussionist and music educator. His name is Charles Amewuda. And for both pieces I performed, he accompanied me on instruments. So with Art Makes Home, he accompanied me on some sort of drum. I'm not even going to try to pronounce the name. But then the cool thing was with Light, Life, Hope, he had accompanied me with some castanets. So that was super lit. And you can find that performance on Kentucky Refugee Ministries Facebook page. And you scroll through, and they dropped it in April because April was National Poetry Month. They released that, and I'm at like the 13-minute mark, but they've got like over an hour of some really cool performances from local artists. So that's where Light, Life, Hope came from. And speaking of Light, Life, Hope, one of the things, hopefully, you guys that have been following me for a while can attest to this. Hopefully, you can attest to this, that with my poetry, the homie Ariel, formerly Owens, now Williams, shout out to her. She said one of the things she likes about my work is that I strive to leave on a positive note, introduce some positivity somewhere. Anybody who's been out to some of these artistic functions, sometimes they can get really, really sad and down and be like, man, I kind of feel worse before I came. And so for me, every poem is not a happy ending. I don't think you can resolve everything in a poem, but I always try to inject some sort of truth, some sort of semblance of hope. Um, that's just my personal conviction, right? Like I said, every poem is not going to be super happy, but yeah, I just try because I want to some hope. Hopefully, after hearing a KennyFresh piece, you feel a little better, or it's left you with some questions or something, right? Just not because it's so easy to talk about the bad things of the world. So where I get light, life, and hope from, I get that from my faith. I'm Christian. I believe in Jesus, and the next poem kind of talks about a little bit of my faith walk. Anybody who's done any kind of journey realizes sometimes you want results quicker than you want them. You want them when you want them. And so here's Drive Through Jesus. Confession. Sometimes I treat my faith like fast food. My prayers are orders placed in God's drive-through, but I need him to read them back to me because I don't think he's hearing me right. I distinctly ordered sunshine without the rain, growth minus the pain, but he gave me more of the same. And what is this? I asked for a ring. He added some supper with it. Now the supper ring, and no one asks for that. They told me, call him up on the main line. Tell him what you want. Why do all of that? And he still doesn't give it to me, but his thoughts go deeper than mine. It's hard to plumb the depth of the seas when you are stuck on the shoreline. Faith is faith because it travels where our senses can't. Corny is ruptured when trying to get a glimpse at his cosmic structure. These hands of mine pantomime when trying to hold the divine. Prayer is saying aloud the things you've been scared to utter. Belief that your words pierce the ceiling, bypass the atmosphere, and penetrate a listening God's inner ear. Most of the times, we can smell what he's cooking. And what is sent but a foretaste for our mouths, a preview of what the kitchen is sending out, proof that the food was worth the wait. I'm learning. Blessings aren't made to go. My Savior ain't a caterer. He wants to dine in. Jesus is the only master chef I know who invites us behind the counter, allows us to help prep our own meals, a manual without a manual. We get a hand in the miracles he's making. Feasts weren't meant for the microwave. And Jesus isn't a drive-through you can slide through. And he ain't in the business of making mistakes. So there's no do-overs, reheats, or remakes. Maybe next time I'll take what he offers with no complaints. Surely that is a waste of breath. Instead, I offer my compliments to the chef. Thank you. That is Drive Through Jesus. I've got a background in background. I've worked fast food jobs before, and so I've witnessed the impatience in humans, not just humans, but myself, right? If you don't get what you want when you want it, like, right, go through McDonald's and let the ice cream machine be broke. You know what I'm saying? Someone will be ready to fight. Let your favorite restaurant run out of fries or whatever you came there with a distinct taste. Only reason I left the house is I wanted this, and they don't have it, right? So some of us, you know, maybe you went to church, you're trying to catch a blessing or whatever, and you know, this new job, this person or whatever you wanted, you didn't get it. All of a sudden, you really just throw the whole thing away. Like I just kind of saw a real parallel between how society's moving with this fast food. Like we can order anything from and not leave our house, and then you juxtapose that with faith and how people kind of blend the two. It's like nah, man, like. You gotta go through some stuff. You gotta wait a while. You gotta do these things. You can't just, you know, faith or whatever is not Burger King. You don't just get it your way. You kind of gotta grow through some things, and growth takes time. I like what a YouTuber said. He said, you know, growth takes time. Matter of fact, the only thing that grows overnight is weeds, and you can apply that to anything, right? I've been doing this poetry thing for 10 years. You know, and they tell you it takes you 10, 15 years to be an overnight success. So whatever you're doing, whatever your business or whatever, just keep pushing, keep working that land in front of you, and don't treat it like a drive-through. Because everybody knows drive-throughs, one, they don't really fill you up, and there's so many things you can get into with that. So that is Drive Through Jesus. I have one more poem. Also, if you like that, you want to hear it again, I do have a YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube and type in Refresher Point LLC. That particular poem, I did a video for it, and you know, numbers went up. It was crazy. People really liked it, so you can hear it there. So we're gonna close out this set. Of course, I like to end on a positive note. So this one is called Just Imagine. Shout out to Queen Savannah Sunshine. She was actually at the virtual art show that the Kentuckians for the Commonwealth threw in May, and she attended. And what it was Kentuckians for the Commonwealth had a virtual art show, and 40 artists submitted like 56 works of art. You go to justimagineky.org, and you can find, you'll be able to see myself and other artists. You click on our pictures, it'll take you to like a mini profile site, and you can interact with the poem. I did a video for it, all these fun things. And the poem is pretty much about, when you submit it, you had to hit one of three preference points. And my point was that I aimed the piece at was, what would our relationship with the environment look like if it wasn't for the scarcity that is a byproduct of white supremacy, right? And so I creatively named this poem Just Imagine, just like the event, Just Imagine. Just imagine not having to wage war on poverty because we paid our workers properly, a living wage with more life in our days, a world where Blacks didn't have to beg for scraps, positioned below a table we were never invited to, praying for food to fall from plates not designed for us to eat from. No longer will we have mouths open wide begging for opportunity to be placed aside, but instead force-fed empty promises to fill up on not nows and just waits. It would be normal not to see white bread as the optimal, with the crust cut off, so as to save that bleached flour from contact with anything the shade of brown. Imagine a world with wheat, pumpernickel, and rye in America, with no choice but to swallow this dark bread with grains as coarse as the natural hair many ask to touch. An example of how nature's best isn't white bread. No longer will we have to wonder how much of ourselves could we be. Leave our white voice dead in the streets. The freedom to use words like ain't, finna, and lit during meetings. Stringing together words and phrases only we know. Chad would ask where the money reside, and we would say nothing, or hint with coy replies. Urban Dictionary may become required reading. Imagine the arrogance to look our counterparts in the eye and say, we ain't come here, but we dang sure ain't leaving. Imagine a world with no more insults like Uncle Tom or Coon because there's nobody left to sell out to. As we wipe away the blemishes of supremacy, how would it feel to be finally free? The long-awaited fulfillment to an ancient prophecy. No longer in hell, we can breathe out now. Don't mind me, I'm just dreaming out loud. That is that piece. Thank y'all so much for chilling with me. We ended right at 50 minutes just about. So now we're gonna open up for questions. If you have any questions, feel free to unmute yourselves and ask the question. You don't have to turn on your camera if you don't want to, but I'm answering questions for like the next 10 minutes or until Ms. Harry tells us, it's time to go.
Well, we have 12 minutes. We're fine.
Okay, awesome.
Uh-huh.
Not everybody at once. Even if it's not a question, if you have a comment or something, or you're just curious about a piece or anything like that, this is kind of the fun part. This is the part I've actually been looking forward to, is hearing what kind of questions people have. So shout out to you, TJ. Thank you, Miss Lisa Eason. Saying that was fabulous. Appreciate you, Jasmine Rudolph. Thank you, Miss Savannah Sunshine. Thank you so much, everybody. Who's got a question? Question. Thank you, Rihanna. Rihanna's the homie. She's like super lit. Like she's one of the, I put her in one of the top poets in Louisville. She's been killing it for a long time. That's the homie. Although I did beat her in a slam once. You know what I'm saying? It took a couple years. It was like Goku and Vegeta, but I finally I got it one time. So I intend to hold that over her head for a while. Shout out to Sharice. She's super dope. I appreciate. She shared the event and was like, support KennyFresh. I appreciate that. Tell Floyd I said what's up. all of that. Shout out, like I keep shouting out my mom. She's here. Look, man, like my mom bought 20 copies of my book. And yeah. Oh, here's a question. What was the process for recording your EP? That's a great question. So actually, it was meant to be a album. And I was actually surprised. My wife surprised me with some studio time for my birthday back in like, I don't know, 2017, 2018. And I just started recording, and then life happens. It's kind of set by the wayside, and I think I just hit me one day, like, yo, where are those recordings? And I reached out to the guy. He sent them to me, and I've just been sitting on them. Like, yo, I really want to do something with these, and let me just do something a cappella. So, but yeah, but Queen Savannah Sunshine, it was just going to a studio's like basement studio, like yeah, that's kind of the process for the EP. In a perfect world, I would be going to somebody's studio and I would have music and stuff like that. But my goal is to do more spoken word albums. And matter of fact, I might have something by the end of the year because the Grammys had a spoken word community had a meeting with the Grammys, the Recording Academy, because for those who don't know, you can get spoken word albums, Grammys for spoken word albums. But the problem is spoken word albums are lumped in there with audiobooks. So all you really, it's been a long time since an actual poet has won, because what happens is, like, the person who won last year's spoken word Grammy was Michelle Obama. Why? Because she had an audiobook, and no poet that I know of has the audience that could compete with some of these celebrities that drop these audiobooks. It's almost like an automatic alley-oop. Like past President Barack Obama has 2 spoken word albums because guess what? He dropped 2 audiobooks. So that's so they decided, hey, we really want a separate category. So and for a category to be considered healthy, they need 50 submissions. And last year, I think the Recording Academy said only like 30 poets turned in something. So now the spoken word community has created this thing called, like, I think it's like 100 griots or something like that, where they're trying to get 100 submissions. So any poet any of you guys are on the call that you're a poet, just record, and it's only got to be like 15 minutes. And it's got to have less than 50% music. You can just do all a cappella, 15 minutes, something like that. And they're really trying to prove to the Recording Academy, hey, there is a lot of poets that are doing spoken word albums. Give us our own category. Don't lump us in with audiobooks. So yeah, I'm getting off my soapbox. But that was the process for recording the EP. Lisa Eason asked, did you start doing this as a young child? No, ma'am. I did not start writing poetry until 2008. Matter of fact, you asked my mom, and I hated writing growing up. She tells the story of, I think I was in elementary school, and she got a call that I wasn't writing as much as I was supposed to. And I'm like, I'll fix that. I will space the words further apart. Like, I literally hated writing, but I always had a love for words. That was something that my parents encouraged. So, before everybody had cable, we were talking early 90s, I'm reading books, reading comics, and stuff like that. And so I wrote my first poem in 2008. First book in 2008. First poem in 2008. A little heartbreak, was sad. So that's kind of when it started. And here we are, like, what, 13 years later. So yeah. Okay, Danny, shout out to Danny, said thanks, cuz it was really good. It's actually like my blood cousin on the call, so that's super lit. Okay. Who is your dream collaborator? Ooh, Sharice, you. Yeah. Who's dream collaborator? Oh my God. Look, you know what? In a perfect world, I would love to collaborate with Chill Hop Records. They are like I said earlier, I love Chill Hop. There's a whole record label over in the Netherlands, and like they have some of the best music. They got like 3 million subscribers on YouTube. They're constantly dropping content. In a perfect world, I would do a whole album with them, and it would just be my poetry over lo-fi beats, and it would sound amazing. Although it would have to go in like the hip hop category because it would be all music and, like, you know what I'm saying. But that would be great. Or another dream collaborator, just like if a big like artist or some artist put me on the phone, because I have done spoken word interludes for folks. I'm supposed to be on a friend's album coming up. So, you know what I'm saying? That I love those kinds of things. But yeah, that's the deep. Yeah. So that's a great question, Sharice. And yes, Queen Savannah Sunshine. Yeah, just 15 minutes with no music to be considered for the category. I would follow Brandon Alexander Williams. He's got more on Instagram. He's got more information about that whole category kind of deal. So yeah, yeah. So thank you. I'm gonna do a giveaway, and so like the first person on this call to inbox the Jeff Library with a review from the event, because they need reviews, right? This lets them know to keep doing things like this. So the first person who reviews, and when Miss Harriet Goldberg get back to me, the first person who reviews it will get a copy of Equilibrium. I do have copies, at home. So yeah, that's the giveaway. Let's see if somebody else. Yeah. Yeah, chill out. Yes, 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 Queen Savannah, we do need to collaborate. I'm just chilling at the house right now. I'm not really doing any in-person stuff, but if we can collaborate virtually or when it is safe to do so, for sure. But I've literally only done one in-person thing. Everything else is virtual. And so I might be coming out, but it's got to be like an event that I'm booked for or something. Like I'll share everybody's open mic stuff, but I've just kind of been staying out the way and I've been getting blessed. Shout out to Renee, still on here, TJ, Marlisha, my wife. Um, yeah, any other questions? We got 4 minutes. Thank you. Yeah, those are some really good questions, especially the dream collaborator series. I appreciate that. I just want to be people put like poets are on records. Like Rhapsody had people on records. Singers have people like, you know what I'm saying? There, poetry is a legit thing and it's getting bigger every year from people like Amanda Gorman to Brandon Leake, who's like the first poet to win America's Got Talent, you know what I'm saying? And Amanda Gorman, she brought poetry to the Super Bowl, which I didn't even think that was possible. I never even in my wildest dreams. So the goal is to uh, I forget who said it. I saw it. Someone just bring poetry where it ain't. You know what I'm saying? So that is definitely the goal. And the library will begin in-person programming beginning September 1st. So they're doing a few more virtual events, but they're going to be back to in-person in September. So that's awesome. Shout out to them. Yeah, yeah. But any other questions? We got 3 minutes. We can just chop it up. It don't have to be a question, but hopefully you guys enjoy this. I know virtual performances and meetings are kind of awkward because you can't really like in person. You can't be like hoot and holler, hallelujah, none of that. You could throw stuff in the comments and stuff, but yeah, yeah. Oh, hey, Sharice said she pulled over to leave a review for the library. Hey, that's what's up. I appreciate that. For sure, for sure. We're connected on Facebook. Just message me how you want me to mail it, an address you want me to mail it to, and I will get you that. Probably it's Thursday. You'll get it by next week for sure, for sure. Might throw a copy in there for Floyd too. Yeah, yeah. So I appreciate it. Like I said, my mom's got. It's funny. My mom bought 20 copies of the book, and then like the world shut down because her plan was to like give them out to people at her booth that she had, and so she's just sitting on 20 copies. I appreciate it so much, Mom. I really do appreciate it. Um, yeah, man.
I've got 2 minutes, Kenny.
2 minutes.
2 minutes.
Hey, 2 minutes. You guys are the best. If you have any other questions or any comments or anything like that, just let me know. I'm excited. I'm really excited that we were able to pull this off and that you all showed up. Like I saw like 22 people. They said 24 people actually signed up. So I'm like, hey, had like some of the best supporters. And most of y'all are from Louisville, which I appreciate. Louisville's been rocking with me since 2011. I really rock with y'all. Thank y'all so much. Jasmine, let me know how I did because you was around when I was doing it at the open mic at IUS. Hopefully I'm a little bit better. You know what I'm saying? I was like 2011, 2012. I love hearing from people who watched me at the beginning because like I started like performing for like when I was at Taco Bell, I performed for customers on my break. Somebody like, I don't know how people knew, like, hey, you're that poet guy. I'm like, yeah. Someone's like, I missed your event. And so I'm like, okay, well, I get off in like 10 minutes. If you want to hear a poem, I can spit it for you. So like, that's kind of the cloth I was cut from. I would volunteer to sweep the parking lot so I could spit my poems out loud and rehearse without people thinking I was crazy, right? So that's kind of the fun thing.
Well, it's 5 o'clock, Kenny.
5 o'clock on the dot. All right. Thank y'all so much. Any final words, Ms. Harriet Goldberg? Thank you again for putting this
Let me put my video on. I want to thank everyone for coming today and supporting Kenny. It's been a magical hour. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you.
Be safe and be well, everyone.
All right.
Definitely.
Peace, everybody. Thank y'all so much.
Thank you. You all be good. Thank you.